you're going to learn on every project. Every project is going to have its own lessons and frustrations, but you just keep learning, and you've just got to take that in your stride and know that that's coming.
You're listening to the She Renovates podcast. You're listening to She Renovates, the podcast for women who want to renovate to create an income and a life they love.
Welcome, Sevda.
Thank you.
And for those of you who are listening to this on the audio podcast, you might want to whip over to YouTube, because we are recording this episode inside the Potts Point project, and we're recording it in video as well. And the other reason why you might want to see the video is because Sevda is wearing our latest She Renovates t-shirt. And so if you want to have a look at it, this was designed by one of our students, Sarah, who is a passive house architect in Torquay, and they just arrived this week. And so thanks for being our model. Do you want to do a little dance? Or Nicely done. So we've just finished Potts Point, and given that this isn't your first for-profit project, so before Sevda joined us, Sevda had done 2 other flips.
Correct.
Yeah. But I wanted to start out by firstly asking you to introduce yourself, what your background is, and why you decided to join One Women.
Okay. So I'm Sevda. My background is my parents are immigrants from Cyprus. What I do for work, I went to uni and graduated in construction and worked for a builder for about 10 years, and then moved into client-side project management, which I've been doing for almost 10 years now as well.
That must mean you started as a toddler.
I'm 34 now.
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe 8 and 8 instead of 10 and 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we're rounding up.
Yeah.
And
I didn't mean that to pick you up. I was just thinking, I hadn't even added up the numbers, but yeah, sorry.
And I came into renovating because I just didn't think that my day-to-day income was going to set me up for retirement, but also just for financial freedom. You know, what I was making every year wasn't enough to cover my rent, my mortgage, and all my other expenses. And even though I love the industry I'm in, I didn't think I could do it long term. I thought I needed another option that I loved and could do forever, or what I thought right now I could do forever, that would bring in some more income and hopefully allow me to get rid of my day-to-day job eventually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think we're looking a little bit shorter term than eventually,
Yeah,
like in the next 2 months.
That's right.
And so many would say, and this is something we talk about quite a bit, that people who work in the building industry don't think they need education.
Mm.
But I guess Stephen and I, an example of the way things can go if you don't get educated. We started doing this when education in profit wasn't a thing. And really, it took us 20 years to get profitable.
Mm.
And so I think the fact that you've chosen to invest in that skill says a lot about you and how determined you are to achieve your goals. Yeah.
So there's 2 investments that happened here. First was the investment in the degree. And you know, I primarily did that because I kept being told women can't build, women can't be builders, and I was determined to prove that wrong. But then the investment in the course was primarily driven because I had money that I needed to spend, and I wanted to make money using my money. But I was so afraid of making the wrong investment, and then all the money I had would be gone, and it would be the worst thing I'd ever done. And that came from fear that my parents did, because they invested all their money into an asset, and that went belly up. And so because I was determined not to repeat that, I wanted to come into Wonder Women and do it the right way. And the way you've taught me to do it is incredible.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And thank you for that. So I guess it's important to note, well, I guess I want to elaborate on that because like Stephen and I were the same. In construction, you learn the technicalities of constructing, but this is so far removed from it, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And you understand that now.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's hard to grasp before you come into it.
Absolutely. So you think going into a construction degree, you'll get knowledge on how to develop or all those sorts of things, but that is so far from it. You know, in a construction degree, you learn the admin side of building large projects. You don't get into renovating for profit. You don't get into a small development that you want to do for yourself. None of that is covered.
Yeah. And you don't even learn how to do valuations or how to...
FISOs?
Yeah.
No, you don't learn how to do a FISO. No
Yeah.
way.
Well, a construction FISO is actually quite different to a for-profit FISO as well, which is the other thing. Yeah,
100%.
yeah. Okay, so that's good. So now the other thing we should mention is you are actually rentvesting.
Yes, I am. Yes. Yeah, that is correct. So both my partner and I own properties, but we rent where we want to live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so do you mind if we talk about financing?
Absolutely.
Okay. So you're able to tap into the equity of another property,
Correct.
which is in another state?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a house in Queensland that I bought, I don't know, maybe 7 years ago now. So it was prior to COVID, and COVID hit, and the prices, even before COVID hit, the prices were skyrocketing where I purchased. So then COVID came along, and then after that I thought, that's it, I've got to draw down on this equity and do something with that money, which is where the money to buy this asset came from. It was purely a drawdown on equity.
Yeah. Amazing. And I think that's good to know because I must admit, as you know, I'm not a big advocate for rentvesting, but mainly because I think PPOR at some point in time is an incredible asset because I just love that tax-free profit.
Yeah.
But I really can see the value for you having that money that you can access, and because you're already paying your rent and you're getting rent from your house, that really makes a difference in terms of servicing and so on.
So the reason why I did this in the first place was purely because I could not afford Sydney. The money I had to invest, and at the time with the incentives that the government had, didn't allow me to get a foot in the door here.
Yeah.
So I had to buy in Queensland, and I did that using a buyer's agent because I didn't want to, again, I had so much fear around spending money on property in a way that was going to be adverse in the future. So yes, went through a buyer's agent, did that process, and then sat on it for a while and had to rent in the meanwhile while it accumulated equity. And then had enough to start investing in Sydney.
Yeah, a very smart move because Queensland has done really well.
Yeah.
And like for the decade before that, it didn't. So very timely.
Thanks, Brad.
So let's now go to this project. How do you feel now that it's finished?
Oh, ecstatic. This project looks better, and better in every way than any other project I've ever done. It just feels luxurious and expansive.
Yeah. And for a studio turn one better, that's not a bad outcome.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Compared to when we first walked in here and how it felt and looked to what it looks like now, it's just $1 million.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I jumped ahead a bit. Now, you mentioned that you've done 2 other flips.
Yes.
What was the outcome of those flips?
Okay.
You didn't lose money.
No, I didn't lose
No.
money. No. So the first one was actually really great because we bought in Dulwich Hill, and we bought off an agent that was out of the area. So he was just looking to get rid of the property, picked it up really cheap, which was, the key thing you must do is buy really cheap. And that renovation actually took a lot longer than I'd expected, and that was primarily because the trades that were doing it so cheap that it wasn't high on their priority list. But still got finished, got a great result, had a profit on that one. And
do you remember how much?
that was close to $100,000 on that one.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was purely because we bought it really cheap and the trades were really cheap.
Yeah.
Then we got into a time where there wasn't much on the market because it was the end of the year. And we had to keep the loan going. So we put it into an asset in Arncliffe and bought this asset, which was also a two-bedder similar to Dulwich Hill. We renovated that one faster than the other one because we weren't pulling up tiles in the kitchen. And when we went to market, there was a surplus in the market. So went to market, had no interested parties, and everyone who was showing slight amounts of interest wanted to buy it less than what we'd purchased it for. So you can imagine how disheartened we felt after that. So we said, that's it, we're going to rent it out, get a long-term tenant in there because who knows when the market will get better. And luckily enough, I think it was 6 months later, an agent in the area called us and said, hey, there's all these new buyers in the market because they don't want to buy from this newly built apartment block. You should get yours up for sale right now. So it went for sale. On that one, I think we made bare minimum. I think we may have made $50,000 on that. But it was enough to cover all our expenses, cover capital gains, and keep moving forward.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was then after that you decided to come and do our program.
That's right. After that, I thought, I need to de-risk this process more. And why don't my renos look like Bernadette's renos?
Really?
Yes. But I never had that wow factor in my renovations. And yeah, we can talk about how you taught me how to do that in this one. Yeah.
We have a secret weapon.
We do have a secret weapon. Yes.
And it's not me. But I did DIY the secret weapon. But anyhow, we'll get into that. I have to say I'm really pleased with the outcome too. And I think one of the reasons is because, so our secret weapon is David, our architect, and he has taken on some interior design. So now when we do a session with him, he provides mood boards and concepts for the interior design as well. So when we went and saw him about this project, he basically turned our ideas on their head, and we've pretty much just executed from his mood board. And I think that's been what's made the difference.
Big time.
Yeah,
Big
yeah.
time. Even the colour palette he put together for
us
was so luxurious. It was just so easy to pick colours that matched the colour board he provided us.
Yeah. And so you can see on the screen there are images showing you the various spaces in the apartment. And so basically we've gone for quite a warm palette. But in doing so, we've had to exercise some judgment in executing because, as always, we're on a really tight budget. So we wanted to use marble tiles and we wanted to have the beautiful cabinets with the arched profile, but we sort of had to sort of compensate in some ways. So we couldn't do it for the whole kitchen. So what we did in the doors or the parts that we weren't putting the arched profile, we created a contrast with some light wood grain. So and I think it's turned out well because I think if it had all been that warm white, it would have just been too stark.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and I think the other thing is that we're moving towards a warmer white as opposed to a couple of years ago.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that works really nicely. And of course, we've gone with the Taj Mahal stone.
That's right.
Which we both love, and also the bamboo stone on the, we've clad the island bench with bamboo stone, which I think is a nice texture and finish. Yeah.
And we also did an integrated dishwasher and integrated fridge, which is something that I'd never done on a reno before. And I think that's added so much beauty.
Yeah, it just takes it up a notch.
Yes, it does.
So the other thing that we have done in this apartment is we are putting in steel and glass, reeded glass, dividing doors between the kitchen and the bedroom. And so we had a pretty interesting time trying to source them locally.
Yes.
And in the end, we've taken the plunge and we've ordered them from China. So our heart's in our mouths because they haven't arrived yet. They'll arrive at the end of the month. But it'll be, I suspect, I have seen photos of them. I suspect that's going to be a happy ending, and the saving is astronomical. So there's been lots of experiments, and I think with every project there is always so much to learn.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is one thing I try and instill in my partner who's about to take on a really big challenge of building a duplex next year. And I keep trying to say, you're going to learn on every project. Every project is going to have its own lessons and frustrations, but you just keep learning, and you've just got to take that in your stride and know that it's coming.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about some of the challenges, and then we'll talk about our wins.
Okay.
So we believe, we haven't gone to market yet, but we believe that our apartment is on track for 100K profit, and we'll know that in February when we do go to market. And so I guess some of the challenges that we had, well, firstly, we were concerned about having to go class 2.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. But that was something that we didn't have to do. We had to get an engineer to come and certify a wall that we were going to pour through, but otherwise it's a standard reno. Yeah. What other challenges have we had?
We had a challenge where we had a leak in the bathroom. So
actually, we had a big lump in the bathroom for a start.
That's right. That's how it started. Yes. So when we demoed the bathroom, we found that a hob surrounding the old shower had a sewer stack vent in it. So it was just getting or moving odour through the building and upwards. So we couldn't obviously get rid of it. We had to relocate it lower into the ground. So that was unexpected. By the time the relocation happened, a copper pipe that was right next to it burst, or it didn't burst, but it came loose. And so unbeknownst to anyone, because no one figured out what had happened, we rendered the walls, we screeded the floors, we waterproofed, and then we found there was water coming out of the wall into the bathroom. And at that point, we had to engage the plumber to come and partially demolish the wall, fix the leak, and then we had to come back through and screed and waterproof again. Yeah.
So that was, I guess there were two implications to that. One was the cost, which wasn't huge, but it was, significant. But the other was also the time frame, because, we were already waterproof, ready to go into the next tiling stage.
That's right, yeah.
And then we're taken right back to square one
That was probably the most disheartened I felt. Yeah. Because we'd made such great progress and we had all the trades ready, lined up to come in and keep going. And our critical point was finishing that in the bathroom so we could get the rest of the stuff going. So that set us back, I think, 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah. Oh, I'd say a month. Yeah. Because then all the waterproofing had to be done again, and then that we weren't in their schedule because they sort of finished with us, and then they all had to come back. So that was that. So, so that was the first sort of significant challenge. What was the next one?
Oh, the next one I hate talking about, but we'll talk about it. So the flooring contractor came in here when he was quoting, and we had a few flooring guys come through, and they all said that there was a bit of undulation in the floor, so we had to get it leveled before we put the timber flooring in so that the timber flooring wouldn't pop up. We nominated a flooring contractor, and he came in to do the leveling. However, the leveling agent that he used wasn't a quick dry leveling agent. So it meant that as it dried, it seeped through the concrete and went into the unit below. So
there must have been cracks in the slab, which we were unaware of. Because I know when we were doing Darley Street, we consciously made the decision not to use Ardit because we knew the floor was crummy and we knew that it would leak through. So we actually built it up with timber, and which is not something someone like our flooring contractor can do.
No.
But it sort of really didn't cross anyone's mind because this is a concrete slab. We, didn't think that this would be a problem. But what was the outcome of that?
The outcome of that was that the water seep through went into the unit below, and it was actually coming through the light fittings of the unit below, and it had damaged the switchboard. So the result was that it had to be rewired, essentially, and rewiring was not as easy as just running some new cables in and a new switchboard in. It meant that you had to actually core the walls to get to the light fittings, core the ceiling, because the conduit was actually fed into the concrete slab, fed into the walls. So yes, it was quite a time-consuming process.
Yeah. And I guess the thing that the important point to this is the fact that Sevda had done her trade due diligence. It's something that sometimes renovators get a bit sloppy on, and so made sure that our trades had adequate insurance, so that now, I can't say it's an easy process, but that's happening through that contractor's insurance. And so had she not done that, we would be in trouble.
Yeah.
Okay, so what was the next challenge?
I think they were our biggest challenges on this job, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay, so what were the wins?
The wins. Well, one of the biggest wins was our approval with Strata. That took, less than 2 weeks to get over the line. And that was primarily because we have a very interesting Strata committee here that's really headed up by one person, but also getting her on board and making sure she was comfortable and responding to her promptly, and we did a lot of, before we nominated trades, we were looking at licenses, we were looking at insurances. So when that was requested by Strata, it was very easy to go, oh, here, it's all on hand, take it, And so that process was, I think, a huge win because we got to start the reno so early. We purchased and started pretty much.
Yeah.
What else was a win?
I think finding a new joiner was a win.
Yes. Oh, yes, that was a big win. So our joiner committed to the job. We agreed to a price, and then she, a whole bunch of other work that she'd committed to increased in scope. So she already had all these jobs that she was doing, and all of a sudden they wanted 10 more wardrobes or whatever they wanted. And she went, I'm not going to get your job done before Christmas. So we had to
find someone
who would commit to our timeline and get it over the line quick enough. And we did.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, they have done a good job.
They have done a good job. And they've been very responsive when we've said, hey, how about this? And what about that?
Yeah. So I think we'd use them again.
I would, yeah, sure.
They, so I think the message from that exercise is the importance of shop drawings, because we always get the quotes off the concept drawing. So basically they draft up the kitchen. And when we got the first lot, they were all over the place, weren't they?
Yes. Bernadette did a lot of magnifying glass and making sure everything was exactly.
And we had a few goes backwards and forwards to get it right.
Yes.
But I'm sure that you'll agree that the outcome was definitely worth it.
Absolutely.
What are you most proud of? I'm most proud of how pushy you are. Because you do need to be a bit pushy, because you can't let the trades just walk all over you. And so, because I do sometimes worry about women, particularly in renovating. The trades will spin them a story and they don't have the sort of confidence to stand their ground, but you absolutely have to. Is that,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, I do pick my battles. For me, time is a lot more important than fighting over $200.
Completely. Yeah.
So, but, if they've committed to something or whatever, then, there's no backing down.
No.
Because, yes, there are a few trades out there that are very genuine, and they say, that's happening because you're a woman, so, don't allow that to happen. They'll actually be upfront with you and say, don't allow that cost or don't allow that slip out. But others just take advantage because you are a woman. Yeah. Nowadays, I think women are the ones that are doing the renos at home. I think there's a lot more women in construction. So eventually, I think trades will figure out that if you keep a woman happy, she'll keep giving you work.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know, this is probably an ageist thing to say, which is pretty rich coming from me, but I think it's a generational thing. I think the younger guys are a little bit more open to falling into line.
Yes. Yeah. And the older ones think that they can
Yeah.
do it. Yeah.
And we definitely have to, it's something that we've got to work on all the time, because like I've been doing this for a long time, I still get it. I know when I'm being fed a line, but sometimes it's really hard to deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Okay. So basically the property's on Airbnb for the next 3 weeks. And then once that guest goes, we will hopefully, the doors will be here. I've had confirmation that they'll be here first week of February. So we need to get those installed, and then we will be going on the market. And so I guess the next question is, what's next for you?
What's next for me?
How many projects do you need to have running to be able to give up your job completely?
If I had 2 projects a year, I could give up my job completely.
Okay. So you just really need one more.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's next for me. And I would love to, the next thing I do is pitch to some agents for some seller JVs.
Yeah.
And then also a few renos, if there are any opportunities to do renos.
Yeah.
Like kitchen and bathroom renos, I would take them up just to bring some income through so that I can substitute that job and keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thanks for joining me. And I think that, certainly around the seller JV, we've got boardroom coming up in the first week in February. And that will be, we will really hone in on that pitching process, because I know pitching's a scary word, but really if you're ambitious in life, you've got to be able to pitch.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether it's for a JV partner, what it is, you've got to be able to pitch. And so that's something that's really important, and we'll be sort of narrowing in on that. So, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
And onward and upwards. We'll do another one together later in the year.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
And if anyone ever gets the opportunity to do a class project or anything with Bernadette, I highly recommend taking it up. Bernadette is an incredible teacher, and there were times in this project where I was tested with the leaks. And Bernadette's just phenomenal. The way she deals with things, the way her brain works, I'm so grateful for the opportunity.
Well, thank you, Sevda, and I've loved working with you too.
Thank you.
Yeah. Great. Well, listen, bye for now, and see you next week.
This is the She Renovates podcast. To discover how to harness the power of renovating, check out theschoolofrenovating.com.